Well, to me, one of the exciting things is that this technology could be used in a county so that any voter in the county could go to any one of the voting locations that has an electronic poll book, instead of only being able to go to their assigned precinct or their paper book and you have to sign the book. With using this technology, any voter from the county could show up at any location and be allowed to vote, and then they can vote where it's convenient, by their work, by their house, on the way to soccer practice, or wherever it might be. And so by using this technology, I think we can really increase the convenience of voters being able to vote wherever they choose to throughout the voting day. And Yavapai County is piloting this kind of technology at 3 or 4 polling locations today to see, to work out the bugs and see how this works, to see if it could be implemented on a larger scale. Well, if a county decided to go to this technology in future elections, after testing it out like Yavapai County is right now, they would probably make a decision to, as the entire county, go to this technology, and the paper books might be a backup type of a thing. And in either case, whether you're doing the old paper book sign-in or these electronic poll books, there's a system to make sure that people haven't voted in 2 different places. The poll books work better electronically because if they're all interconnected, then if you've already voted at one location and you go and try and vote at somewhere else, it won't allow you to do that.
Okay. Will this be, in the long run, will it be a cost savings?
Well, I think so, because instead of dividing the voters up into, what does Yavapai County have, about 110?
95
precincts?
Polling places. We
Okay.
have 112 precincts, but 95 polling places.
Instead of voters only being able to vote in their precincts and having to have as many voting precincts and 7 or 8 people at each precinct to staff it during the day, you could have fewer voting centers where anyone from the county could vote at those locations. And so you could significantly reduce the number of voting locations because anyone could vote at any location.
And you were given a grant for this technology?
Well, yes, we block granted some money from the Help America Vote Act that the state has received some money. We block granted some of that to Yavapai County. They chose to invest some of this money into trying this technology. And if it works, they might be able to use other block grant monies that we've given them or that they have from other sources to expand it to the entire county.
Our voting machines in Yavapai County are over 10 years old, and they need to be replaced after 10 years. It's going to cost a tremendous amount of money to do that, over $1 million, because we do have 95 polling places. So the Board of Supervisors basically talked to us about a year ago and said, look, we need to be a little bit more figure out different ways to accomplish what we want to do on Election Day without having to spend $1 million. So Lynn and I had already been looking at these e-poll books, and we've been talking about vote centers. Now, for this election, we are not doing vote centers. You still have to go to your precinct to vote. But eventually, that's what these e-poll books will do. They're internet capable. That we would hardwire them into our polling places on Election Day, so people couldn't vote twice, but they could go to any vote center and vote. Because we have a tremendous amount of early voters now in Yavapai County with a permanent early voting list, the need for all of the polling places aren't there. So we can combine polling places, we can centralize polling places, and then it will allow people to go to any polling place and vote. We still have a lot of early voters, so that's one reason that we're going to be able to save money, is actually because we'll have less polling places. After this election, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about the technology. One of the things that's been real difficult for us is finding polling places anymore. A lot of people don't want us in their places anymore for polling places, so we're looking at alternatives for that as well. So there's a whole lot of things that we need to think about. We are actually trying to figure out how to move towards vote centers for the 2012 election. So there's a lot of things that we're going to have to do between now and then, and we might have some better idea about what the cost savings are going to be.
Okay, and will you have to have, if you decide to go with the e-polls, will you have to have legislation changed?
Yes, and we're very instrumental in getting some legislative changes done this year. Andy Tobin actually carried a bill for us to allow us to combine polling places, not for just special elections like this one, but for all of the elections that we have. As long as you have a sufficient amount of early voters in your county, then you can actually combine your polling places. We will be looking at legislation to further the goals to do vote centers in Arizona, and we'll be working on that after this election. We've already talked to Andy. Andy has agreed to help us with legislation that we need in order to do that. Secretary Bennett's on board as well.
Okay, so what about the legislation changes? Are you going to be there to help and advise?
Absolutely. Yavapai County's already taken the initiative to get some of those things approved, and we're very supportive of what they've done, and we'll continue to be supportive of what needs to be done further in order to allow counties to make these kinds of decisions and implement these kinds of changes to make things more convenient for the voters and save money for the taxpayers.